Hello, this is Calamir and welcome to another repair video. In this video, we are looking at a PlayStation 5 controller that has stick drift. When you plug it into the machine, like it just the console, it just pulls in one direction endlessly. That's stick drift. Now, before I go ahead and take this apart, I would like to show you what this looks like. There's a website that I use all the time for working on controllers. It's called hardwaretester.com. You go into the Gamepad section. It's a good idea to do this right away, just so that you know exactly what you're working with, because you got to narrow in on exactly which one is having the issue. And it's pretty clear right here. You can see it's it's definitely the left stick. Let's get to getting this controller disassembled. Now, I really wish this was still the old style of the PlayStation 4 controllers and back, because these are not easy to take apart. This bit here is, even this is a little hard. You got to take this bit off here first, and then you go underneath and you just pry up a little bit. You don't need to really like wrench on it too badly, too hard, but once you get up to here, you got to get underneath this section right here. There's a bunch of clips. It helps to use a plastic pry tool, like that. And you just got to lift up once it's out, like this. It's going to swing upwards in these two places. There. It just pops out just like that. If you yank on it when it's not completely unhooked, you can make a bend on those two corners. That is not something you want to happen. So there are some screws to take out. There's two here that are hidden, and there's also underneath the R1 and the L1 triggers. You got to go and pop those out. Once again, just use a plastic pry tool and pop these out, just like that. And you can see there's one. And come on, there's the other. Let's just get those screws out. Okay, these are all the same size. Sorry for the noise in the background. I can't do anything about that. My shop is in the utilities, in the basement, where all the noise is. But yeah, so at this point you're just prying up a little bit, getting this bit disconnected. You can see there's also a clip here and here. And you can do it even with a nail, but if you want, just stick a pry tool underneath there and just pry up a little bit to get that loose. It doesn't take much. You don't need to bend it out a whole lot. If you do, you might just break it. You don't want to do that. Here. At that point, right here and right here, there's clips. In the past, I have somewhat broken them, which is disappointing, but it's not the biggest deal in the world because this bit of the controller is held together very well with other clips as well as those screws. So you get your plastic pry tool underneath here. There you go, that's one. Doesn't always come apart this easy. The last one I was working on earlier, it was quite the struggle. But yeah, it's just right here. Once you get in there, it pops. It should pop right out. If it doesn't, well, you might be prying at it for a bit. Yeah, I got it. Okay, I'm going to show you those clips so you know what you're actually pushing on. I got to get this out first. It's annoying how hard this is to get out at this point, but it's somewhat hinged in there. Here. Ow. Okay, it's these little guys right here. Really hard to see. It's this one right here. You can just barely see the clip, but it's there. And then this one as well on this side. And you're just trying to just kind of lever it out of the way in order to pop it off. And it's just right here and there. Okay. Okay. Well, that's off. Great. I always immediately go in and take out the battery. You don't want to pull on the plastic underneath. You don't want to pull on the yellow plastic. It's the white. So if you get yourself a nice pair of needle nose pliers to get in there, this is not a bad solution. You can pull on the wires. It's not that badly held in. It's not that tightly held in. But generally speaking, it is the wise course of action to pull it out using a pair of needle nose pliers, just so that you're not damaging anything. Come on. All right. let's go in with the tweezers and just lever it up. There. There we go. You got some more screws on the inside. They're all the same size as these. There's 2 screws, one here, and then there's one here. And that's pretty much it. That's all that's really holding it all down. You gotta also take out some ribbon cables as well. There's one here on this side as well. A ribbon cable here, and then 2 here as well. If you tear them, it's going to be a bit of a pain. These parts are not as easy to find as other ones are. So I'm going to take out the shell that holds the battery first, just to get out of the way. There we go, and it's connected to this sensor right here. I don't know what this sensor is. It looks like it's some sort of... I'm sure somebody out there definitely knows what this is. I sure don't. But yeah, there's a sensor right there. It looks like some sort of lens. It's not held in particularly hard. There. It's just friction fitted. There we go. To the side it goes. Gotta get this cable out next. I mean, you don't need to, but it doesn't matter the order. We gotta get them all out. And I'm gonna use my needle nose pliers to get these out. Now, for any of the tools, the equipment, supplies, whatever that I'm using in my videos, I do have Amazon affiliate links in the video description that you can use to go and purchase them. So if you need any of them, that they are right there. I do make a small, little, tiny profit when you use those links. There we go. Those are out. That's it. Now at this point, we got to get this out of the shell. And then there's the final part. We got to get this circuit board out. It's held in by a couple of clips. I should be able to just pull this cable out here. I think it might be a little easier to get this cable in, maybe, if you have... No, not really. This doesn't come out unless you desolder these wires on these 2 sides there. So let's switch over to the soldering desk. Get our soldering iron ready. Get that tip nice and clean. I'll toss on a little blob of solder. I do also have my fan on, if you can hear. It's just a normal, like, fan vent for like a bathroom vent. You got to do a lot of sealing up, though. I have a lot of silicone on it. I have to add some more because I noticed another couple of places where there's holes. Let me zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing more. Just normal camera. This isn't a microscope at the moment. But yeah, you just take your tweezers, put a little dab of your solder on there. Keep in mind, red is on the bottom, black is on the top. Let me get this one out. There. Comes out pretty darn easy. See? Super easy. Now that we got those out of the way, we can get this circuit board out. To get that out, it's just a matter of pressing on this little clip right here and the other one on this side. Doesn't take a lot of effort, and that should come right out. On the back side, just be careful, because you got lots of cables in the way, lots of ribbon cables. So let's take this off first. It's just the speaker. Put it somewhere safe. And you gotta peel off this little membrane. If you can remember to put it back on, it'd be a good idea. All it's really doing is it's giving a little bit of a buffer between the plastic that sits on top of this circuit board and what's underneath. It's like all it really does. It's just an extra... It just protects the circuit board to some degree. I'm not really sure how important it is, but there is some wires underneath there that are embedded into that circuit board, some traces. Not a bad idea to hold on to that bit, make sure that's installed back afterwards. This is the one, once again, that we're taking out. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to get myself my board holder. It's quite the contraption, but it holds it on pretty well. I'd really like a smaller one. There's far better ones out here than this. This one's not that fun to work with. I'm also noticing, compared to the last controller I worked with, that there's these little rings. I'm gonna have to take these out. It's just gonna melt otherwise. It slips right out like that. I'm just gonna put them somewhere safe. I'm gonna get this one out as well, just in case. this is, now that we've got it flipped over, left becomes right, right becomes left. That's what we're at right now. This is the side that we are needing to get out. So what we're going to do for this little guy right here is we got to go and flood it with some leaded solder just to make it a lot easier to get out. Now if you do have some low melt solder, that can help a lot. Like I've got some 150 Celsius stuff here. That would greatly diminish what I need to do to get that solder out. So I'm thinking I might use this, 148 Celsius. It's a paste, that is what this is. You don't want to leave any of it behind either. This must be all cleaned up afterwards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flood this first with lots of flux. Yes, my flux is old. It still works, it's just oxidized some. Or I'm not sure exactly. I'm assuming it's oxidized. Okay, let's get ourselves some flux on here. Not some flux, let's get some solder on here. A whole bunch, like that. All you're going to do is just press it to it, hold it there for a bit. Okay, I'm ready to clean it all off. I'm going to put a little bit more flux on there. Okay, let's get a little tiny amount of solder on my tip. And the reason you got to do this is just, it really does help immensely in getting the solder to flow away from, just at least at the beginning, to flow away from the board and into your braided wick. You didn't see how much, but it doesn't matter. It's the tiniest amount. You can see it right there. Okay, let's get at it. Okay, that should do it for now. Now all I'm going to do is use my heat gun. I've got it set to 480 degrees Celsius at basically close enough to like 100% airspeed. I got to get these off as quickly as possible, and the reason is because, I can use my tweezers to point, you've got this plastic connector right here, you got another one here, and that one right there, and this connector right here. Not a connector, I'm not sure what that is. What is that? For the ear 3.5 millimeter like headphone jack or something like that. So we gotta get this off. You know what? Before I even do that, let's get rid of. There's a whole bunch of ancient sticky residue right here. Let's get all that gross flux off of there while it's still nice and hot. There we go. Clean enough. Gosh, that's a mess. Can I get that last bit off around right here? You just heat it up with the heat gun again. Saw it. I'm going to get this a little bit cleaner than what it currently is. I also have a paper towel here. I've seen other people use like these weird fibery cloths to do this. I've also seen people use microfiber cloths. From what I've seen, the microfiber cloths work very well, but my preference is to use the paper towel just because the paper towel is pretty cheap. And it's not just that it's cheap, it's that it can be broken down by nature a lot easier than like those other cloths. I really don't know what those other cloths are, and I just don't trust them. The ones that are like very fibery. So that's why I use the paper towel. And it does a really good job, So, I mean, look at it. It's very pretty. It's very clean. Can you even see that? I don't know. Let's put some new flux on and heat it up. All I'm doing is just moving the heat around rapidly until it comes up to temperature. And once it comes up to temperature, it should just fall right out. And I'm pointing the heat on a diagonal, trying to keep it away from the connectors. Okay, I got it out. Now a major problem that I keep encountering with this is that the bottom melts. You see the little fibers? And it makes you think that it's still stuck in place, and it can be very annoying. Let's see if we can clean these holes out. The easiest way to get them clean is to add more solder to them. So apply flux, clean your tip. This one is kind of cleaned out already, but it needs some flux. This one, flux solder. This one needs some more solder, and all of these need solder, and Yeah. A lot of them need solder. You put in new solder and then you can pull it out after. That's it. At least it should. Should make it a lot easier to get clean. Now let's clean that up. I can't seem to get all the way through right now. I'm gonna have to turn that board over. See the glue on the back? Not the glue, the plastic that melted on the back. It can be poked off relatively easily, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. There. I do have one of these. I'm gonna try it. I don't like them. At least the one that I have, I don't like. I just find it tends to be unsuccessful. So I'll try it. I gotta put some more solder in there, but that one's really not wanting to cooperate. So best way to deal with that is to add in more solder and then try to clean it out that way. If you play with it too much, you can actually damage the via underneath that it's... Oh, that one's not cleared out either. That's as good as I can do with that one. I'm going to try running the wick over it again. Okay, so what we got to do at this point is just give it a good cleaning. The flux on the back of this is still reasonably easy to remove as well, which is really nice. Just rubbing it off to some degree, just like this. Paper towel, give it a good rub. I'm going to add some alcohol, clean it up the rest of the way. So at this point, what I got to do is I need to go and put in the new thumbstick. So let's stick it on in and get at her. Sometimes these are a little bit bent, I noticed on occasion. This one's not, but occasionally they are bent. This one's a little bent. So if you're like, why isn't it going in? Well, check your pins, make sure they're not bent. Just this one right here is slightly off. Line it up. Push it on in. Flux it up. Time to put some new solder in. Just going to put a little bit of solder on your tip, just like that. And you're going to go in from the sides and just stick it on the side and go in from the other. Okay, final step. We're going to give it a cleanup. Just going to take a corner and start with that first to pick up the top layer of stuff, and then we can get the rest up with some alcohol. Alright, it's all spick and span, good and clean. The other thing you want to put back on is the gasket that goes around the connections for the speakers. It's right here. This is so fiddly. Okay, let's see if we can get this all properly lined up. Alright, enough. I think. I'm doing hand motions, you guys can't see. Yeah. Let's reassemble the controller. Now you gotta go and put these little guys back on first before you get anything else in. Otherwise, you're gonna be in trouble for trying to get these back in. You'll have to disassemble everything. So you remember you got a lot of cables that are in the way. You gotta be careful around those cables. They are sensitive. Just drop this in place like this, and now let's fish those wires and cables back all out. And you got a little cable right here as well that's buried. Be careful with that one, it's a bit more delicate than the others. Snapped it back in place. Now those cables can go back in. I like to use the tweezers to get these all, not tweezers, my needle nose pliers to get these in. So I'm not going to be worrying about that right now. What I'm going to be focusing on now is getting a little solder on my tip here and getting these little guys back in place. Red's on the bottom, and the black. Same thing with this side. Red on the bottom, black's on the top. Alright, back to the repair desk. Let's get these all back together. I pretty much do exclusively with my tweezers here. Not tweezers, these needle nose pliers. Just works so well. Gotta be careful with this cable. Some of the cable itself is exposed just the one cable remaining. This little guy right here. Gonna grab the back of that. I'm gonna have to just use it as pressure on the back of it. Get it in. Just like that, and then push. There. Nice and snug. Then it's just a matter of get everything else back into place, really. You gotta keep this this sensor in mind as well. I think I'm gonna have to. I think in the past I've used tweezers instead of my needle nose pliers to get in, just because it's such a small little area. So that right there is in. Yeah, it's such a small area to work with. Your only option is the tweezers. We got screws to put back in. Start off with this one right here for the battery compartment. Notice that I'm going backwards first. I am looking up right there. That's just because you're going into plastic. You don't want to recreate grooves that have for grooves that are already present. Otherwise, you'll eventually strip the plastic. So always go backwards first. You're going to hear that a billion times from people. I think that's the only screw on that right there. I didn't take out the other two screws. Didn't end up needing to. Let's get the battery in. It's easier to put it in first, the connector, and then you can move it into place. I find it odd that this battery isn't like stuck down. You can see they do have a pad right there. I guess maybe that was the reason they did it. Just didn't seem necessary. I find this part to be a little bit fiddly. You need to get this in like on an angle like this. You're trying to line it all up. You got to push in, and you got to make sure that this side and this side are equal when you're putting it in place. So as you go down, if those two are not aligned, you're going to have problems. So you just got to wiggle it in like that. There we go. And there we go. It's done. See those ones right there? See, they're not sitting, they're not clipped in. Oh, people upstairs are being loud. I am sorry. I can't do anything about that. I'll just do the best to finish up this video. Just putting these screws back in just like before. You go backwards first and counterclockwise, then clockwise. My desk's a mess. Look at all that dust. Then the ones that are behind the triggers. Shoulder buttons, excuse me. Triggers are below. I do find this bit to be a little bit tricky. It does just snap into place, but they need to go above this right here, this little plastic thing right here. It doesn't go below underneath, it goes above it. So you gotta put it like this. Once you get them there, it should be sitting on top of the plastic below it, not underneath it. And then you just press it, there you go, like that. And then it snaps into place. Just like that. Now there is one last thing that you got to do before you move on and just like say, hey, it's done and dusted. It isn't. Not yet. You got to connect it to the computer. And you got to do some tests and maybe even some calibrations. So we're here on the computer with all those ads. I'm going to scroll down. No, I don't need to scroll down. Just move a button and it should pick it up. If it doesn't pick it up, there's a possibility that you might be just using the wrong cable. Maybe not a thick enough cable. But you can see nothing's moving, but this new one, it's slightly off. This one's just slightly off too, but it should be okay. But this one is slightly off. So what we need to do to fix that is you need to go to a calibration site. And this thing is called DualShock Tools. I'll put it in the video description, DualShock-tools.github.io. So I'm connected. You gotta press the big connection button. You grab it from the list. Connect. Here we go. And you'll see this is still off. So I'm gonna say Calibrate, Center. And we're gonna go through that wizard. So what it asks you to do is it's gonna ask for top left, then top right, then bottom left, bottom right. And you just pull the stick up to that corner and you'll see it down here as you do it, and then afterwards it finishes and then it's all done. And there's one last thing that I forgot to do. I forgot to put the shoulder buttons back in. So let's put them back in. They're pretty easy. You just slot them in. You put this little thing, you got the circle, and then those little pins there, they go in this slot right here. It's hard to see, but they do just slot in pretty straightforward. Just like that. There we go. And that's it, guys. it is done. It is done and dusted, all nicely back together, and I even cleaned it up a little bit. So, if you guys like the video, please do leave a like, and if you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe. We'll see you guys all in another video.